Hey friends, Ash here with Gents, back with my great friend Richard, master perfumer. He's done Tom Ford Oud Wood, Bond Number 9 Coney Island, countless other fragrance, and he has his own line, Precious Liquid, which I have a link in the description to. And also he's doing free samples right now. Just have to pay shipping, so make sure to check that out. And today we're going to be starting off a series that we've been talking about doing, where Richard is going to be giving us his perspective as a master perfumer, a professional perfumer, on lots of different things fragrance. So just wearing your fragrances, how fragrances have evolved, just all kinds of different things. So we're getting that started here today.
Great. Thank you, Ashton, for the opportunity to talk with you about that, and I'm always excited to get your perspective about all these subjects that we are going to talk about, because you have like a completely different view than me, so it's really, really nice. Sometimes I feel, I'm like the bicycle rider. I have my head in the in the race, and you see everything from another perspective, which is really great, So
yeah, we're like completely different, and then at the same time love fragrances. So yeah, it really is cool because we have kind of just completely different perspectives on everything. So it's really interesting every time I get to talk to you, because I learn a whole lot. So I'm always thankful.
Thanks.
Yeah, so today, this is pretty basic, but I thought that it would be really cool for you to be able to give your perspective and everything on just the application of fragrances and maybe layering as well. A lot of people, when they first get into fragrances, if they're just now trying to learn about them and things like that, it seems super simple, but people don't know how much should I spray? Where should I spray it? Should I spray it on clothes? Should I spray it on my skin? Should I spray it on my neck, on my chest, on my wrists? You'll get people saying only spray on your pulse points, don't spray anywhere else. You'll get people saying don't rub it. People saying don't spray on clothes, do spray on clothes. So I know it's really simple, but I know even for me back when I was a teenager, it was kind of like, I don't really know if I'm doing this right. And you would just like spray on your neck and just be like, well, I guess that's where I'm supposed to spray it in, and just kind of go.
I can tell you the way I evaluate fragrances, so that I usually evaluate fragrances, not spraying them on me, because when I spray them on me too close, then I'm too much in the cloud of the fragrance. So I'm not anymore a spectator to the fragrance, So I want to be able to smell the way it would smell on another person. So I usually smell it on my arms here, just because when I move, then I suddenly get another whiff of the fragrance. And I noticed that I put less like that, and I'm able to enjoy the fragrance even more, So that's like just to evaluate a fragrance, to that's the way I'm doing it. But then what I believe is really important is that people, let's say you get out of the shower, some people, they would apply the fragrance at this point. And personally, I don't think that's the right way, because I really believe it's more like you dressed up, so you finish to dress yourself, and then you would apply the fragrance. Like this, you don't have to put it on your skin, even though fragrances are very safe today. I still believe, if you don't have to put it on your skin, then it's better. And if it's on the top of your clothes, obviously it's going to diffuse better, because if you put it like out of the shower and then you put your clothes on, then it defeats the purpose, because you won't smell it.
It's just over top of it then.
Yeah. So it's going to have a hard time to get through the clothes, So I think that's like simple advice, but I think that's good. The other thing also is that I would not put it too close to my nose and around this area, like the chest, even though it's tempting, and people they would kind of, okay, I want to spray on my chest, but I don't think it's the best place. Like I very rarely, I just maybe put 2 spray just as a little finish. But most likely the way I spray a fragrance is going to be like more in the neck area there, because again,
on the back.
Yes, exactly, because when you move, you get that little whiff, and it's also more personal. People, when they start to approach you, If someone greets you, a good friend, your wife comes to give you a kiss in the morning, she's like, she's like, it's nice, it's more personal, and you can dose it also in a way that it's like for yourself or a little bit more for other people. So I think that's also the important point, is whether you go to work and like a normal day where you want to have a nice fragrance for yourself and the people in your very immediate environment, or like if you go for a special evening where definitely it's a completely different ball game, So that to cover like the morning and the normal way I would wear fragrance. I mean, one thing also is that I don't like to wear deodorants, okay? I think a fragrance is like a magnified deodorant, and you should not wear deodorant if you wear a fragrance, So, and on top of that, the two smells, they can compete with one another, which can be a disaster. So it's better to have something, like I would even use a fragrance a little bit like, a little bit like a deodorant too, just to be safe. If you would go to the gym, same thing, like use it as a deodorant a little bit. I think that's great because that's your signature. It's like an very elevated deodorant somehow. I mean, when you go back to Louis XIV, fragrances, they were playing a big role of deodorants.
Oh yeah, for sure back then.
I mean,
I used for the longest time like the deodorant that has, or antiperspirant that has no smell at all. So if I use one, I would just use that, because like you said, if I use a lot of the spray deodorants and things, they do have a smell, and so especially if you put it on pretty thick, then you might get some competition there. Another thing I wanted to point out before I forget is you made a good point about the evaluation. So if you buy a fragrance and you kind of want to see how it's going to smell to other people, it is probably a really good idea not to spray heavily here, because a lot of people will do that and then they'll go anosmic to it, so they're not smelling it anymore, and then they'll get upset and they'll be like, oh, this fragrance has no performance, it lasts 30 minutes and now it's gone, I can't smell it. And then later on in the day, like 6-7 hours later, they'll walk by somebody and they'll notice their fragrance and be like, oh, what you're wearing smells good. And they'll be like, I don't understand, I can't smell it. And so if you're just getting into fragrances, that's really important to know about, is if you overload, then you can go anosmic to it. And some notes I've noticed, or some accords, have a higher propensity to make people go nose blind than other ones. But yeah, that's a good advice to kind of keep it out here so that you just catch an occasional waft, and then you can see how it smells in the air to other people. Yeah,
because the nose, to your point, the nose gets accustomed to anything, whether good or bad. Let's say you get into a place, and at first it can be a restaurant or anything, and you get in, and let's say a restaurant, and you smell like a strong odor of a chlorine or some kind of detergent. Mm-hmm. You would hate it in the beginning. You would like, I can't even stay in that place. It's horrible. And then let's say you decide to sit down. After like 30 seconds, a minute, you will hardly smell it.
Yeah.
And so the nose smells really the differences. So it captures the differences between one odor and another odor, and it depends also from where you're coming from to which place you are getting in. All of these things, they play a big role. So the thing is that even though you were saying like you wear a fragrance that could be like even one of the strongest fragrance out there, and you spray it in a way that you are into the cloud, and you won't smell the differences anymore, and people around you, they're like, wow.
Yeah, especially if you go into the office like that, and then just everyone around you is like, oh God. I've actually done that before. So.
Yeah, because the thing, Ashton, the thing is that the fragrance, even a fragrance, let's say one of those really strong fragrances on the market, okay? Mm-hmm. If a person likes it, it's all a matter about dosing it the right way. You can still wear it, even during the day, but you would put only 2 or 3 sprays instead of putting 10 sprays,
Yeah.
And then if there's a fragrance that you find that's a little lighter, but you really like it, you can make it an evening fragrance. You just have to put 20 sprays instead of putting 10, you know?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know what?
Just dose it more.
Sometimes I feel like people, they think like, oh, this fragrance, I don't get noticed enough. But then, you know, if you just have to load it a little bit more, you know, and the opposite is true too, you know.
Yeah.
So so that's yeah, real thing.
So you like to spray more on your clothing rather than your skin. Like I know that a lot of people will say like skin chemistry makes a big difference in the fragrance. So one person might say, well, this just doesn't work for my skin, and that maybe it doesn't come off as well off their skin versus somebody else's. Do you know if you think that that's a real thing, or is it more so, do you think, somebody's personal preference where they just maybe don't like how it smells coming off of them, that then maybe when they smell it in the air from somebody else, they go, oh, well, I do like it that way? Or do you think the skin chemistry does make a difference? Like it does make a change on how the fragrance comes off?
Yeah, so really to this, I can say 100% different skin react different ways. I really don't know in depth all the whys, but for sure, when even though, like, let's say, for example, I'm working on the fragrance, you know, with the evaluator, we would evaluate on the same arm 3 different spots, you know, like let's say I put it here or on the hand, then there and there, you know. Those 3 spots on the same person already have a kind of a different effect on the fragrance. So for me, it does make like a really big difference, and everybody knows what usually they do to the fragrance, you know. So some people, they would know, oh, fragrances on me, they tend to become greener, a little sharper. Citruses on my skin don't work as so well. Or some people would say, I'm pushing vanilla, everything is sweet on me, you know. So all these things are true, but then to all these people, I would say, if you like a fragrance and you think it's not good on your skin, just don't put it on your skin. Enjoy the fragrance on the clothes, you know. And for me, really, my sweet spot, really the sweet spot for me is always the neck, you know. I just love to have a little bit like in the hair and neck. I think this, for me, it's really, really nice, you know. I that's really, if there is one place that I would suggest for fragrance, that's the place. I find it very intimate. It's a very nice place to put it. And again, there you have a lot of hair, so you don't even have to put it on the skin. So if a person has an adverse effect with their skin on a fragrance, they can put it on the hair and on this area, the clothes, you know, this area. And I think that's great, you know. That's really nice.
Yeah, and I think that spot gets overlooked by people a lot, especially in America, I think, because we're really, or at least I was, and all my friends were conditioned to spray your wrists and spray your neck right here. And again, that was kind of going back to before the whole pulse points, because especially, you know, when I was growing up, it was always, you want to spray it where, you know, you have more heat and heartbeat, and then it pushes the fragrance out more, or that's what everybody was always told. And so I think that's how a lot of people have grown up, kind of wearing fragrances, kind of chest, neck, and wrist. And like you were saying, the back of your neck and your shoulders or your collarbones here, those are really good spots, because as you move, it kind of creates this headspace. And then as you walk by people on your shoulders here, it kind of pushes off to where it's going to be where other people can pick it up. And so those are really, I think, good spots as well. I agree with you that those should maybe be where a lot of people start spraying their fragrances. When I'm evaluating them, a lot of times I'll spray them kind of in here, kind of not all the way down on my hands, just because with my kids, it'll get rubbed off like and on my wrist also, actually it'll rub off carrying around my daughter. But yeah, I like this area right here, kind of the crook of my elbow, because then as I move around and do things, it seems to diffuse a little bit. But I stopped spraying my chest and my neck a long time ago. So another thing actually with that is some people will say, like, if you're going to be potentially getting a little intimate or close with your significant other or something, maybe you don't want it all over your neck, because then if they try to like kiss your neck or anything, then they just end up tasting a lot of fragrance, which is not really great.
I mean, I personally, I love to wear scarves, especially in winter.